Well, it's a new week, new wahala, and social media not a disappointing crowd.
Charlie, from the hot takes, of course, to the cold replies on social media, if it happens, we'll serve you here.
Well, whether you are chilling this morning or stuck in traffic, we've got you the gist that you might have missed.
This is your morning social media bar stop. And we'll serve you the issues. And I'm so excited to be doing it with this beautiful lady. Because last week she wasn't here. She was celebrating her birthday. Let me
introduce myself.
Okay, forgive me. My name is Derek and I'm doing this with the ever beautiful
Jacqueline Ansuma Yaboa.
Great. I'm so excited to do this with Jackie. And of course, the stories are a lot. Let me not waste your time. Let me head you right into it. The very first story is what you see behind me, is the passing of Pope Francis.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all very, saddened by exactly a week ago.
Yeah.
Easter Monday, we lost him and he was laid to rest over the weekend in the Vatican City, St. Peter's Basilica Square. Some of the visuals you see on your screen. And a number of things happened at his funeral.
Yeah.
One of them is that we had 200, and that's the crowd you see, 250,000 mourners gathering. And just so you know, the Catholics make up the world is made up of 8 billion people, and Catholics alone are 1.4 billion. And so this is a big funeral,
Yeah.
So we had 250,000 mourners showing up. And of course, if you know Pope Francis, he was an amazing guy and he was always preaching peace. And so a lot of world leaders gathered.
Yeah.
One of whom is our very popular guy, Mr. Trump. And there's a certain shocking, Prince is going to show you the pictures you're going to see. Everybody shows up in black suits because we are all mourning and all of that. But not my Trump.
Definitely.
Trump shows up in a blue suit. And people go like, okay, we can pardon him for the blue suit.
Yeah.
But at least you should do a black tie to signify that.
But, well, probably there was no dress code, so he just wanted to do the different, like, dare to be different at the Pope's funeral.
But people argue that it's a funeral. This is not the point.
But that is Trump that we are talking about.
Okay,
he wakes up and does the wild thing.
You have a point on that. Then another shocking guy who also showed up was Zelensky. And just so you know, Zelensky was the only president who got applause from the crowd. And shockingly, when they met at the Pope's funeral, they had a tete-a-tete.
Yeah.
They had initially clashed when he visited, the
whole
White House.
thing that happened.
Yeah, but they had a very fruitful conversation. And it feels like a father talking to the son. And a lot of people have really lauded Zelensky for this because it feels like, Charlie, he's put his personal pride aside and is pushing for his people. And another shocking thing is that this is the first time we've seen Zelensky show up, not in a military suit, but not even in a political suit, but still in black, still letting everybody know that, Charlie, he's not the best of man. He's still fighting some battles.
But when he even met Trump in the White House, he was still in the whole black thing.
Yeah. Then one thing that also took the headlines concerning the Pope's funeral is the fact that it was a very modest ceremony. He had a very simple coffin, and he gave the inscription that the tomb should not be decorated with any extra thing. It should be very simple and modest. That's the coffin you see, made of oak and zinc. That's what he wanted,
Something very, very simple.
Very simple.
Yeah. And even when you're talking about the fact that a lot of mourners were there, it was also one of the most watched, let me say, live streams, apart from Super Bowl that a lot of people watch. A lot of people were watching this live stream. You could see across most of the international media houses, people staying glued to their social media or their various pages, trying to be updated on what was happening at the Pope's funeral.
Yeah. Of course, we don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but that's what happened over the weekend. Jackie, guess the next story that we have. It's the story of Honorable Amma Kofi Boa crying.
Which part of the Bible says that, and he wept?
And Jesus, John, Sweetie,
Aboshi.
I don't know if it's a good time to bounce back, but we'll go to Sweetie pretty to give us the exact verse. But it's quite sad that he wept. Don't take my word for it. Watch the video, I'll bring you the comments and all the juice after that. Charlie, there you see it. My honorable lance minister.
Yes, oh.
And people did not spare him. It's like, Bemensu. Why should, and some people feel that it's theatrics. We'll get into the comment, but Jackie, he watches the documentary, and for the first time, he sees the degraded land, the water, how mercury has destroyed all our, and you see Senor Hosi going to, you know,
but even for the documentary, well, we don't know what actually was going through his mind. But if you actually see the documentary, I remember during the series of protests last year, being part of the whole coverage, when they showed the documentary, you know, I hadn't really seen it. That was Erastus, the documentary on
Poison for Gold.
Yes, and you see the side effects of these mercury in the children, and you see how deformed they are.
Born with 6 fingers and all, some without limbs.
I don't know if that was the part, but if that was the part there, then I agree. I mean,
well, some people feel that. It's Charlie Polly. We've seen it before.
Yeah.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Let's take the comment and let's see what social media has got to say on that.
Yes. So Griffin first comment says, Griffin says, maybe the tears will clear the waters. Because, shaking my head.
I mean, it's our honorable Ama Kofi Boa telling us that he's not watched Joy News. He doesn't see the visuals.
He hasn't seen.
This is the first time he's seen the Galamsey.
He hasn't seen it yet.
Oh, okay. If you defend him, sure. I don't have
so we are hoping that the tears will clear the waters.
Yeah.
And Etonam says that formats. LOL. And Idrisu says that please stop weeping and let's catch all those involved and let them pay for their crimes and action. Yeah. This last comment here says that the former Deputy Minister of Finance, that Sakura guy, worked more than this, yet became one of the most corrupt guy in Ghana's history. That's according to Ahmed. Yes.
There are more comments on that.
Charlie, fix the problem. That's why we elected you.
Because if it's crying competition,
we can all cry.
We can all cry.
I know, right? We can all cry. Because when I saw the video, I even wanted to cry.
I mean, not to say we are not, you know, sensitive or all of that. I mean, perhaps Jackie, I must also make the point that perhaps he was so touched to the core. For the first time, this time around, he's in power. Yeah. So if one like, am I the one to lift this burden?
Sure.
You know, just like how Jesus prayed that, Father, let this cup pass over me, yet not that I will. So perhaps Honorable Ama Kofi Boa was going through that.
I mean, he's human.
He's human.
Yeah, he's human. And Miyaki says that for the camera. Well, we don't know. Yep. And Patience says that after the tears, please do the needful. Yeah. T for thanks. What's the kakra? Yeah, no atwaso.
Prosecute the people.
Felix says that if the job had, step aside, oh master. So a lot of comments on this social media expressing their thoughts on what they think about the ministers' MTS.
Sweetie, you interact with ministers, you're a journalist, you're every day talking about Galamsey on the AM show. Sweetie, is it about time we started crying or is it about time we started fixing the issue?
You know, they say, Shakespeare said, there's no act to show the mind's construction on the face. And I also know that sometimes as human beings, we just get overwhelmed with, you know, emotions. So I really cannot judge. But I also know that crying, it won't solve the problem, Honorable Minister. Thank you. That's what I think.
I like Suti because again, and I'm on the bro for your day.
I know,
and
right?
bigger quiz, I'm going to take a step, Benjamin Akapo. Man, I was playing him on
You just wanted that point.
Yeah, that point. Can you imagine he did the intro and introduced my leg as short legs? I forgive him. But of course, we got, let's see our next story. Which is the story of, it made the headlines.
Yeah.
TTH versus the health minister.
Yeah, I think from Tuesday through to Friday, we're still making headlines. Even over the weekend, so we're still making headlines.
Jackie, let me give you all the juice you need to know.
Sure, shoot.
So something happened. Honorable Minta Akando took over and he's doing something that nobody has done, which is visiting the hospital. Surprisingly unprepared. You didn't prepare for it. It's like those days that the math teacher will come to class from nowhere.
Mental.
And I shall you know. So April 11, he visits Rich Hospital. He gets angry that the machines, health facilities are not working. Yeah. He tells them to use their internally generated funds to fix some of the issues.
Yeah.
Exactly 11 days later, April 22nd, he goes to Tamale Teaching Hospital with Honorable Suyini, Tamale North MP. Then they inspected, they realized a lot of things were not working. One of the things is that water does not flow. Yeah. The hospital gets constant power cuts. So they interact about that. Then, just so you know, the week before the Honorable Minister went to Tamale, the Tamale Teaching Hospital had lost the patients over what is alleged as medical neglect. And so people were already incensed and angry about the issue.
He had heard about it.
So the Honorable Minister brought it up. And in the video you saw, the guy you saw is Dr. Atiku. He was trying to make the point about how it's not what you think.
I think they call him Dr. Val too. He has a popular
Let's listen for that. We'll bring you the juice.
But you see, what how you doing? Honorable. When you put up this behavior, even the minister, me, look at the way you are behaving in front of me. Even front of the minister, so you can imagine how
I'm trying to explain.
You can imagine how you
I'm trying to be
common person. But you see, how you doing? How can you be like this? So it means that he's doing worse things here. It means that he's doing worse things here. When you put up this behavior, even the minister, me, look at the way you are behaving in front of me.
So if you are talking to me that I'm the minister this way, then how will you talk to the normal people?
I know, right?
You know, so Honorable Minta Akonta was incensed. He got angry, and guess what happened the night? That same day, on April 22nd, he fires the CEO. And the Ghana Medical Association didn't think it was a light issue.
Yeah.
And so they did something, and you're going to see my slides. This is what happened. The doctors protested by going on a strike on 24th that if you sack our CEO, we are not going to work anymore, especially in the emergency.
Yeah, they had some demands too. They needed an apology. Yeah,
Great.
That was part of their demands. They needed some equipment. And there was another thing, though, that they needed. But the most important thing was the apology.
Yeah.
They needed an apology.
Great. And you've gotten ahead of me, which is the fact that they strike because they wanted the Honorable Minister to apologize.
Yeah.
But the Honorable Minister, you know, does a very good rebuttal by saying, oh, you guys, you are my people, you are my doctors.
Yeah,
I've heard your needs, and I've brought you all the medical equipment you need. But the doctors insist that, we've returned to work. So they've returned to work, but they still demand a public apology. Social media didn't do soft with this news. It was a big deal on the headlines. And so, Jackie, run me through the comments.
Well, Slim says that he just looks at the young doctor and thinks he's a son. Don't talk back when I'm talking to you. This is Ghana. Penny Kasa, on Kasa. In fact, even if you are older than the Penny and in terms of work, you are a subordinate. You can't talk back. When the person is talking, this is Ghana. Andrew also says that, oh, Honorable, this one day, try. And the last comment here, all I saw was a doctor being assertive. And if the minister took that as disrespect, then his ego might be the real issue here. Also, since when are mortality audits conducted in front of the cameras? That's not accountability. It's a blatant ethical violation.
All right, moving on, I'll skip this and move to our next story. It is the story that also made very shocking waves on social media.
Which is still trending today.
Still trending. Yeah. I mean, it seems like a story that will really trend for some time. Yeah. It is President Mahama, for the first time, suspending a Chief Justice after the 1992 Constitution. This is the first time it's ever happening. Over some what they call misconduct. Yeah. And in one of the petitions that was submitted to, the committee, is that she... You know how she has some privileges and benefits to enjoy, traveling with her family,
But this the husband and the daughter.
She traveled with her daughter and the husband and gives them per diem.
Even on even on holidays and all this stuff.
And so a lot of people feel there was some error there. There was quite a glitch. Yeah. And apart from that, of course, she's appointed by a political figure. And so there are some politics at play, Sure. Social media definitely was buzzing about it. Jackie ran me through it.
All right. So Doka says that good news. When I saw the news, I was smiling and my wife thought I'm cheating. Only she picked my phone and realized the story.
Hey, Charlie, why do some people get excited when people are going
Someone's failure. Mr. Sapon says that I get that she's misconducted herself in some ways, but for other fundamental reasons, I don't think her removal is best. Yeah. Courage says that you and I knew long before the 7th December elections, the way Tokono was glaringly in bed with Akufo-Addo should have been removed if the table turned.
Courage, no,
but that's his comment. He said that, remember, number one, birth certificates, not proof of citizenship. Afenyo Markin versus the speaker, LBGTQ.
Hold for me. So these are some of the issues that she, made headlines with. Yeah. Which was the fact that when there was the issue
prior to elections,
Afenyo Markin versus the speaker, she made a decision. She made a rule that the speaker is not in his place to decide whether he's suspending the parliamentary candidates and all of that. So it made some rules. Then the LGBT plus case involving the last guy.
Yeah, that was very delayed so much that he couldn't even sign it. And CSOs versus Nanado on the removal of the Auditor General, Yao Demlevo. And the last one says here that if I were here, I would have long resigned and no way to be taken through all this. A lot of comments on that on social media.
Great. Yeah. Let me run you through our next story. The fact that I just like Mr. Baumia, Dr. Baumia for that reason. Bawuzi, I mean, now they started their thank you tour.
Yeah.
And, you know, Professor Michael Okwe's report, post-election report is out.
Which they prefer not to publicize it.
Yeah, because according to JFK, he feels that if they put it out, it will destroy the party.
It's suicide.
It's suicidal. In fact, those are his exact words. And in Dr. Baumia's, thank you to one of the statements he made was the fact that he, as a Muslim candidate, performed a lot more better than many Christian candidates. And
in their own constituencies.
In their own constituencies. Yeah. And it was because when, on the build-up to the elections, a lot of people kept saying that the first time we're having a Muslim candidate, is he going to win? They are not going to, you know, he's the first Muslim candidate flag bearer for the NPP.
Yeah.
You know, so social media quite makes some way. When he made the statement that, you know, poor one man temp crowd, Jackie, run me to the social media comments in there.
Well, real quick. So Humberland says that the blame starts with data. And Nebula says that, hey, he got 38.2%, so you can't blame him.
Wow.
Great says that Christians or Muslims didn't vote based on religion. They vote based on personality of their choice.
Yeah.
Forget perform better than mantra and focus on investigative reports coming from Prof. Okwe. A lot of stuff that people have been sharing on this. I wish I could run you through all of them, but time wouldn't permit us.
Great. Of course, it's been the trends with me, Derek Elom Ashilevi. You guys, just so you know, there's a guy who wants to make my job difficult, Benjamin Akapo, and I'm not scared to tell him that. I said his head is big for a reason. If he doesn't like it, he should go and sleep. But I love doing this with Jacqueline and Sumaya Boa Sweet.